Jellystone came out on HBO Max not long ago, and while I'll probably be discussing this show more down the line, one of the things I found so comforting about it is how much it felt like an extension of a past project by creator C.H. Greenblatt, one I hold in extremely high esteem. Chowder. It's hard to understate the sheer impact Chowder had on me. I always saw it as something of a little show that could. It was a show that I always went out of my way to catch, and it quickly became a favorite of mine. I can recall so many hours of watching Chowder that it actually surprised me to see interviews where C.H. Greenblatt admits to frustration and disappointment with how Cartoon Network treated Chowder after its middling reception, claiming that Cartoon Network had put Chowder in a bad time slot to keep it down low until it ran its course.
Cartoon Network didn't really want to promote it, and they kind of just ended up letting it fizzle out, and they kind of canceled us. And
I'm aware there's a good chance Greenblatt will never hear me say this, but if Cartoon Network was trying to hide Chowder from its audience, then Greenblatt must have created something so special that many were incensed to seek it out, because I can recall watching most episodes of Chowder multiple times, no matter what scheduling parameters were put in place. That praise isn't without ample reason, and that's something I want to delve into. Chowder is an apprentice chef studying the culinary arts under Mung Dal in the whimsical city of Marzipan, where no food preparation or delivery can occur peacefully, as every oddity you could anticipate and a lot you wouldn't come crashing into the laps of our heroes. This isn't helped in any small part by the nature of the precocious and gluttonous Chowder, whose hunger for exciting prospects and, hunger in general rarely fails to lead to trouble. Chowder plays a role you've seen a lot, the young, mischievous sort whose irresponsibility leads to the narrative mess that needs to be cleaned up. His eyes are bigger than his stomach, he can be frivolous and scatterbrained, and his eagerness to impress his cooking master induces chaos time and time again. What really sells Chowder as such a one-of-a-kind character in his own right is his voice performance, courtesy of Nicky Jones, who was just 12 years old when he started providing Chowder's voice. There's a certain enthusiasm and really genuine glee behind Jones' delivery that, combined with the writing of the show, made Chowder feel like such a genuine kid, despite how outlandish his circumstances often were.
But why so early in the morning?
Because we gotta get a boat before they're all rented out by other men who don't sleep.
I don't want to be a man.
Don't say that in front of the baby.
The baby doesn't have ears.
Pepper spray? That sounds delicious!
I was wrong! I was horribly wrong!
When I listen to Nicky Jones's Chowder, I don't hear a young kid being fed lines. I hear a really strong actor completely following the wit and subtext of his own dialogue. Where it is that Nicky even sometimes improvised dialogue within the booth, and to do so at his age and create lines that survived into the final product is not something to be dismissed. So if there's anything I fathom would fuel the imagination of a kid to inspire such a performance, it's the world Chowder takes place in. This is where, to express the sheer impact a piece's setting has on it, one may say the city of Marzipan is an important character in Chowder. But when I say that, it's practically literal, because Marzipan is a surreal landscape of colors and cultures that's held together by living creatures, undefinable economy, and lore implications that are potentially disturbing if you think about them for too long. Marzipan City feels like Dr. Seuss's physics-defying architecture and shapes, mixed with the subversive personification of the Muppets, a claim I feel comfortable making considering how often Chowder sometimes completely breaks its own art style to show an event in stop motion or puppetry for no real reason besides it's how the creators wanted to present it. Though the yin to this fantastical yang within Marzipan City is how often stories and jokes center around its economy and market. And it's here that Greenblatt flexes his often curt and sharp brand of satire in a way that made me laugh as a kid and still does as an adult, albeit with a slight realistic sting. The fruit peddler Gazpacho's struggles as a lonely bachelor, the stories revolving around truffles often dealing with everyday sexism, and an episode in which a spending spree results in the characters running out of money, leaving nothing to fund animation, exposing the viewers to the booth where all the main characters' voice actors react with bewilderment. This gag in particular has become familiar even to laymen as something fans share a lot, which doesn't surprise me as it perfectly captures Chowder's brand of humor, an off-the-wall shattering of the fourth wall propped up by social commentary. It's never addressed directly in the show, but my imagination always ran wild with the fact that Mung Dal and Truffles are by all evidence not Chowder's parents, simply his mentors. But Chowder lives with them and sleeps at their abode and work, and has no birth parents to speak of, implying he's some form of orphan under their care. Mung's rival is noticeably affluent and extravagant by foil. Miss Endive's glamorous lifestyle, contrasted with Mung's more modest means, makes him seem more like a family-owned catering business that lives and dies by its month-to-month business. And make no mistake, this show is light-hearted as all get out. It's a show where we deal with big game hunting, feral peaches, legumes that sing soul gospel, and a man composed of a never-ending supply of ice cream. But underlining all that, we get a very honest look at being a put-upon menial worker like Schnitzel, the perpetual loneliness of Sergeant Hoagie, the neglect and bitterness that creates an angry kid like Gorgonzola. All themes that the show never breaks tone to reckon with, but they feel handled as if the writers were speaking from the heart. And I find something extremely comforting in the notion that even in a world where diet food comes from a hideous goop-spewing plant, there's still mundane issues of diet culture. In a world where mean, exploitive customers live on top of giants, there's still the issue of exploitive customers. Even if you live in a backwards fantasy land, you'll still have everyday problems. There's one big thing you can't spare any expense on. Everyone has to eat. I think that's why Chowder hits such a chord as a show about food. It's consistently the thing that brings characters together in humiliation, in strife, and in frustration. There's an unabashed love of the culinary, even if most of the time it's sentient or poisonous or explodes. I really want to avoid calling these elements the recipe of a classic cartoon that was a close friend of mine when I was a kid. So consider it a structured gathering of elements and parameters that led to its creation.